In today's episode, we'll be talking about the blue personality and how we can speak to these personalities in their blue language. Today we're going to learn the core motivation of a blue personality. We're also going to learn what makes a blue blue and how to successfully form a relationship with a blue personality. So stick around, here we go. So the core motivation of a blue personality is intimacy. They need to feel a connection. They want to have a bond. They need to feel good and moral. They want things to be clean and right. It's very hard to get a blue to do something wrong against the law or even the smallest infraction. And they especially need to be understood and appreciated. Now, you say, well, everybody would like to be understood and appreciated. Yes, that's true. All of us would. But blues need it more. So when we're talking about these personalities, we're talking about the things that really, really affect them. The buttons you can push that will really make a difference. Blues need to feel appreciated and wanted. So make sure you let them know. What blues want is to be autonomous. They want to be in control and independent. That's what they want. But along the way, they'll also want to disclose their insecurities of where they're at. So when they start to disclose their insecurities, stop and listen to them. Hear what they're saying. Make sure they feel like you're connecting or they're connecting with you. And last, they want quality. They want to know that they've made a good, sound decision and that whatever the service or the product is that they're trying to get to is of quality. And there needs to be a quality way to get there. Not a herky-jerky way, not gray area way, a nice, fine quality path. So quality means a lot to blues. So what makes blues blue? How do blues see themselves? Blues see themselves as a class act. And they're always putting other people first. They also want to share their heart and their emotions sincerely. So when they start to express their deepest feelings or their needs or their emotions, take time to listen to them. It's very important to blues. And last but not least, they are stable and dependable to the end. And they know that. You need to know that about a blue too. They are very stable and dependable. Now, before we get to how to develop a positive relationship with a blue personality, let's step aside for a second, slow down, and ask yourself this question. Has this kind of information been helpful or informative for you? Is it interesting? If so, please hit that like button. Help us let others know by sharing. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now, because what are you waiting for? This is some good stuff, and there's a lot more where this is coming from. So how do you develop a relationship with a blue personality? First of all, you have to be genuine because they're genuine. So if you're not genuine, they're going to see right through you. Remember that blues are going to want to divulge their insecurities. You're going to have to reaffirm and confirm their security in your relationship with them. Make sure that you affirm the security of the relationship y'all have together. You'll always want to be sensitive and soft-spoken with them. They don't deal with harshness very well. They're touchy-feely in a way, and you have to be careful not to rub them the wrong way or not be compassionate. Always be well-mannered and appropriate with blues. Like I say, it's going to be very difficult to get them to color out of the lines or to do anything a little to the side or under the table or any kind of gray. You have to be very appropriate and always have good manners with them. They'll appreciate that very much. Blues are not the fastest decision makers, so when it comes time to make the decisions, step back a little bit. Give them time to gather their thoughts. Don't put pressure on blues. It won't work. You'll also want to give them all the details they need to make that decision, so make sure you have your facts and your details ready. Let them have their list. Give them time to review it. Blues are also risk averse. So show them how their risk is limited, or at least what their risk is. and then break it down real simply for them. If you have ways to limit their risk, limit it. It'll go a long way with the blue. If there's nothing to do about the risk, it's either A or B, no risk or risk, then just tell them that flat out. But try to find a way to limit the risk. The less risk they have to take, the more comfortable a blue will be. And finally, blues are creative. And it'll really help if you'll acknowledge their creativity. They revel in creativity. It's part of who they are. The fact that you recognize it and appreciate it will go a long way with the blue. All right, I think we've wrapped up what we need to know about the blues out there. Please learn to speak in their language. When you have asked the right questions and have decided that someone's a blue, it'll really, really help your cause to talk to them in the blue language. Now, let me tell you a story about a blue that I met one time. I was talking to a blue who was volunteering all the time at the church. Should have been my first clue, although I didn't know anything about blue or green or yellow or red at the time. But I had learned enough about this person to know they were very much into the church. They were very much into helping others. And these are all signs of a blue. Givers, putting other people first. Remember, we talked about that. So I was trying to buy a house. And the house that they were in was a 3-1, a small 3-1 house. Their daughter had had 10 babies, and they didn't know who the father was to any of them. So one at a time, this young lady, their daughter, was having babies. Now, a lot of people would have disowned that daughter at baby 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But no, blues are loyal to the end, remember? That should have been another sign that I was talking to a blue, but yet I still don't know about blue, red, green, and yellow yet. Not this far in the story. I'm trying to buy the house, and I'm trying to appeal to them with numbers. They didn't owe but a fraction on this house, but they would not sell it. They had moved into another house that had been given to them by someone at their church. A bigger house, a house that could handle all the people that were now in this house because this daughter kept having babies. I kept thinking, this is simple. You don't owe anything. Whatever I give you for this house is full profit. You know, I'm offering you $130,000 for this house. And, you know, I don't understand why they won't take it. I'm giving them all the things they can do. Actually, I'm talking to them in the wrong language. I'm not giving them what they want. And so it goes on and on, month after month. I call and check in. Hey, are you ready to sell that house yet? They're not ready. It's still available. They still haven't sold it. I can't figure out why they're living in another person's house free of charge. And they have this other house that's just empty and they're not doing anything about it. Then one day I do a podcast interview with a man who introduces me to the art of color coding. And he shows me these 4 personalities. And I find it very interesting, but I'm not connecting the dots at this point. But after that episode and after that interview, I hung up with the person I was interviewing. And my alarm went off on my phone. And it said, it's time to call that man again about that house that's sitting there vacant. And I thought, holy cow, this guy that I'm trying to buy this house from is a blue personality. And I've been talking to him in the wrong language all this time. I paused for a moment and I sat down to think about who a blue is and what they need and what they want. I gathered my breath and I called this person. When I got a hold of him on the phone, I began to talk to him in his language. I told him about a customer that I had that really needed to be in that part of town, and it was true. I had a customer that really needed to be in that part of town, but they couldn't really afford to be in that part of town. That part of town was over their head, but they needed to be there because their grandparents were there. And the grandparents were who took care of the grandchildren when they went to work. And if they weren't close to the grandparents, then they had to drive clear across town, and it was a huge inconvenience and cost money. But if they didn't bring the kids to the grandparents to stay, they had to pay for the daycare. So it was a catch-22, and these people desperately needed help. I'm telling this to my seller. I asked him, do you think we might be able to help this family out? They need help. And within a few minutes, we had agreed on a price. I was going over there to get a contract signed, and it was done. All because I was talking to this blue in the blue language. Something that they could understand and they could assimilate and they could rationalize that was right for them. They wanted to help this family. We did buy that house. We did move that family in, and we did get everything to work out just fine, and everybody was happy. That's the power of speaking in the language of your seller or your buyer. Talk to them in their language. It'll cut through a lot of red tape. All right, for those of y'all who have stayed to the very end, I want to reward you with the first 100 pages of my book, My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. It is the story of a dummy, yes, yours truly, who figured out how to buy 100 houses a year and repeat that for over 20 years. So check it out at homestogo.com/free-stuff, or just click on the link right down here below. Until next time, we're out of here. See you at the next episode.